Thanks for joining us on KARE 11 News Now. I'm Chris Harabsky. We're going to get right to your headlines. In St. Paul, it is Budget Forecast Day at the state capitol, where lawmakers are seeing the updated economic projections that will inform the budget process for the rest of the legislative session. The biggest number is a looming $6 billion deficit to the state's general fund over the next few years. State officials say that's being caused by more state spending through 2029 and inflation. State officials say the projected budget surplus for the next 2 years is around $456 million. That's about $160 million less than what was predicted in December. Breaking this afternoon, President Trump lifting a 25% tariff on goods coming in from Mexico. That is for 1 month. In a social media post, Trump says the exemption applies to the goods under the U.S.-Mexico-Canada agreement reached during Trump's first term in office, which replaced NAFTA. That agreement allows tariff-free trade between Canada, the U.S., and Mexico, so long as the product is made or greatly transformed in North America. It's not clear if this pause will extend to Canada as well. Just yesterday, Trump paused tariffs on vehicles and auto parts coming in from Mexico and Canada after talking with the big three automakers, Stellantis, Ford, and General Motors. Well, there appears to be progress on avoiding a trade war. Our Canadian neighbors are not happy with any escalation. Minnesota officials continue their dialogue with lawmakers across the border, and the leader of Ontario is threatening economic pain on our state. Danny Spiewak takes a closer look.
Tariffs are about making America rich again.
As President Trump pushes forward on tariffs, the head of Canada's largest province has vowed to retaliate.
I will do everything, including cut off their energy, with a smile on my face.
That's Ontario Premier Doug Ford, a political conservative who once supported Trump's policies. Now, after winning re-election just last week, Ford has threatened to place a 25% surcharge on Ontario's electricity exports to 3 U.S. states, New York, Michigan, and Minnesota. In a letter to U.S. lawmakers this week, provided to KARE 11 by Ford's office, the premier wrote, "I won't hesitate to increase this surcharge or, if necessary, shut the electricity off completely."
I will do everything, including cut off their energy, with a smile on my face.
It's not clear exactly how much electricity Minnesota imports from Ontario. For example, an Xcel Energy spokesperson said the company does not import electricity or natural gas directly from Ontario, and a lot of Minnesota's hydroelectric power comes from neighboring Manitoba. Still, Governor Walz is not taking Ontario's threat lightly.
This one is a little bit troubling.
During a news conference Tuesday, he addressed the possibility of an Ontario power cutoff.
So we've got a good relationship with Premier Ford. I was in his office last year, as Commissioner Peterson said. They agree with us, but we're working that right as we speak to see what that impact will be.
His Commerce Commissioner, Grace Arnold, is also assessing what a surcharge or electricity shutoff would mean.
We're still working through that, trying to figure that out. We'll hope they don't. What we can definitely expect is higher prices.
More broadly speaking, Arnold said the trade war with Canada will lead to higher consumer prices on not only electricity and heat, but also at places like the gas pump because Minnesota refineries use Canadian crude oil.
We're going to see it, and the exact amount that folks will see, and exactly whether you'll see the price increase at the gas pump tomorrow or a week from now, it takes a little bit of time, but everyone's going to see an impact from that.
The discussions continue over the electricity export issue from Ontario into states like Minnesota. This year, Governor Walz has called on the legislature to pass a budget on time so that it can provide more economic certainty to the state as these tariffs continue. At the state capitol, I'm Danny Spiewak, KARE 11 News.
Developing right now, President Trump could be just hours away from issuing an executive order that would lead to abolishing the Department of Education. It's important to note the president does not have the power alone to shut it down. It takes an act of Congress and 60 yes votes in the Senate. Reports say a draft of the order tells the Secretary of Education to, quote, take all necessary steps to close it. Today we're hearing from George Floyd's younger brother, Terrence. You may remember him. As some call for former Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin, who was convicted of Floyd's murder, to be pardoned. Presidential advisor Elon Musk recently shared a video of conservative commentator Ben Shapiro calling for that pardon. That started discussions about the possibility of a pardon for Chauvin, something Floyd's younger brother says he expected.
It's like a re-injuring a wound. You know, we had to go through this since 2020. We had to go through the whole trial of seeing his actions over and over and over again, and people claiming that it was the drugs, it was this, it wasn't Chauvin's knee on his neck. You know, we had to go through all of that, all the lies, all the different disgusting stuff on social media, and now to relive it, for them to bring it back up. This is the 5th year. We were supposed to see progress.
Important to note here, Chauvin is serving 2 sentences, 1 federal, 1 state, for kneeling on Floyd's back and neck for more than 9 minutes in 2020, which a jury concluded led to Floyd's death. President Trump can pardon the 20-year federal conviction, but pardoning or commuting the 22.5-year state sentence is out of the president's jurisdiction. Without a pardon, Chauvin is expected to be released from prison in 2038. Happening right now, U.S. negotiators holding unprecedented talks with the Hamas militant group, a group categorized by the West as terrorists. Negotiators trying to work out a deal to free the remaining Israeli hostages. Hamas says that will not happen unless there's a lasting ceasefire in the Gaza Strip. Matt Bradley is in Tel Aviv.
It's a diplomatic bombshell landing on the Middle East. Just yesterday, we heard the United States is actually speaking directly to Hamas, which is a designated terrorist group, not just by Israel, but by the United States and many European countries. They're the authors of those October 7th attacks that started the latest round of conflict in the Gaza Strip and here in Israel. And Caroline Leavitt, the spokeswoman for the White House, said that this was being done because the Trump envoy for hostage negotiations is allowed to speak to these terrorist organizations. Now, whether or not this actually gets anywhere, that's an entirely different question. It was accompanied by a threat that President Trump posted on his Truth social media company saying that Hamas should leave now while they have the chance, that he was giving Israel everything they could to destroy Hamas, and that Hamas needs to hand over all of the remaining hostages, of which there are nearly 60, 5 of whom are Americans, one of whom, of those Americans, Aiden Alexander, is thought to still be alive. Now, all of this comes at a critical moment in that treaty between Hamas and Israel. It looks as though while the Israelis want to try to extend the first phase of that treaty, which has seen swaps of hostages for Palestinian prisoners, Hamas has insisted that they move on to a more permanent truce and the eventual withdrawal of Israeli soldiers from the Gaza Strip. It looks as though if there is no agreement, we could see a renewed war in Gaza. Matt Bradley, NBC News, Tel Aviv.
Back in Minneapolis now, snow emergency day 2 parking rules are in effect. Let's review. Make sure you move your car off the even sides of the streets that are now snow emergency routes. Also, you're asked to make sure you're not parked on parkways, otherwise you could be ticketed or towed. Tomorrow, on the final day of the snow emergency, avoid the odd side of the street. In St. Paul, crews are plowing the day routes right now, so make sure that your car isn't parked where it shouldn't be. But in the Payne Phelan and Highland Park neighborhoods, there are new rules there to talk about. Right now, the city is testing a weekly one-sided parking cycle. For those areas, it's an even-odd parking schedule every week instead of a daily swap. This week, it is an even week, which means through Sunday, there is no parking on the side of the street with odd numbered addresses. Confused? Me too. On any given night, though, there are more than 10,000 people experiencing homelessness in our state, and there's been a group based in Minneapolis trying to help. Now we're getting an inside look at just the efforts that they're trying right now. Jessica Hart was on the streets with them just after our latest snowstorm.
On a day when many people choose to stay inside.
I don't know if they're still there or not, but we can definitely.
Cassandra Davis and her team choose to be outside.
We're simply outside trying to make sure that folks are okay. So really just trying to provide them with the necessities to stay warm.
Cassandra is the program manager with Avivo Street Outreach Team. With supplies in hand, they look for people to take it off their hands.
We try to engage, but oftentimes they don't like to come out of their tent because they're going to lose that heat.
Avivo is a Minneapolis homeless shelter that built 100 tiny homes, giving people who are unhoused a place of their own. The 2024 annual homelessness assessment report showed the number of homeless people in Minnesota between 2023 and 2024 rose 10%. And last year, over 9,000 people experienced homelessness.
If we run into somebody and they don't have a warming kit, they don't have boots, they don't have a coat, we're going to head back to the office and get that, and we're going to bring it to them.
The snow makes it more pressing.
I often see a lot of cases of frostbite, especially in folks' toes and their fingers.
If they don't find anyone, their day isn't over.
Let's just say, we go to one location and there's not that many folks. We're going to keep scouting. We're going to keep trying to look for folks.
Looking for the folks outside, doing their best to bring them inside.
Jessica Hart, thank you for reporting there. Stick with us. More news and weather coming up after the break.